We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. I am Jason Bermas. It is Reality Rants. We're over at Red Voice Media. A lot to talk about. A lot to go over. And I want to start with the Muskernuts and Alex Jones and the online Twitter conversation that Elon Musk had with, Kim.com, that basically invoked not only biblical references, and I'm going to get to that in a moment, but the idea that Alex Jones exploited the deaths of children for quote-unquote fame and gain. Look, here's the deal. Alex Jones isn't perfect. I think Alex Jones got a lot wrong on Sandy Hook. But that is an utter minuscule, itty-bitty bit, even if true, concern compared to Elon Musk arming forces with Starlink satellites that rain death showers from above on soldiers, and you better believe there are consequences on what? Women and children. How many children, the blood of kids, is actually on the hands of a guy like the Muskernuts in reality, like in a real wave? Because everybody tells me that Alex Jones does so much harm and he hurt this person, he hurt that person. As far as I know, Alex Jones has never been in the arms dealing business. Alex Jones doesn't have Defense Department contracts. Okay? So I'm going to start here with this conversation. And thumbs it up, subscribe, share. Let people know we're live 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday, Monday through Thursday. And that you can get the second half of the broadcast free of charge live over at Podbean. I'm going to address some of the trolls and then some of the really well-meaning supporters over the years that are kind of upset that the second hour is, behind a paywall at Red Voice. And props to Red Voice and props to independent media in general for what they were able to do with Died Suddenly in less than 24 hours. And we're going to get to that in a little bit because we're not about censorship here. Okay? And Musk is saying my firstborn child died in my arms and he felt its last heartbeat. Okay. All right. Let me say this. I can't imagine what that's like. That to me would be ultimately horrifying. Obviously life-changing. Something I wouldn't wish on my enemies. Okay? But to somehow invoke that when we're talking about Twitter and whether or not Alex Jones should be on the platform, who is a documentary filmmaker, a radio host personality, and the head of a media organization that has continually churned out, in my opinion, some of the best minds in independent media, bar none. Bar none. I mean, and you can argue with me all you want. And look, I'm going to give Elon a little credit here. Savannah Hernandez is back on there. This is just going to be one example of what's come out of InfoWars. Now, I don't know Savannah. I've never talked to Savannah. I've seen some of Savannah's work. It's pretty good. You know, she's on the street. She's showing the horrific nature of some of these policies in large-scale cities. That's important. People need to see Skid Row when Skid Row expands and Skid Row comes to your neighborhood and things are out of control and the media won't cover it. And she was continually banned. Now, the one time I did see Savannah, it was just before all the lockdowns and the pandemic was just kind of like getting underway with fear in February of 2020. I was at this conference, and I hadn't seen Rob Dew in 10 years. Love Rob Dew. We talked, we connected. I met Harrison Smith for the very first time. Okay, I think he's done my show. I've done his show since then, but I got to spend a couple hours talking to him. I think Harrison does really good work. Now let's go back old school. All right? Aaron Dykes and Melissa Dykes do, bar none, some of the most, if not the most, hardcore, dense documentaries on relevant geopolitical subject matter and really human psychology in general. The Minds of Men. I think I got it right here. I do. The Minds of Men. All right, this is it. This is what you want to see. Take 4 hours of your life, because you're going to need a break. I think it's like 3:40 or something like that. And understand that right there, I mean, that's filmmaking. That's the truth. You want to understand how dark this is and how this is built and interwoven into the system. Wow. Aaron Dykes, great mind, great person, a friend. Somebody I love, really. I was thinking about Aaron today. Well, obviously I was thinking about him, or I wouldn't have him in this kind of opening monologue here. And there are other people that have come out of InfoWars that, you know, I've never really interacted with, David Knight being one of them. He does really good work. Now, whether or not there are heads that butt and, you know, Alex Jones ends up firing, you know, him and Knight, I guess that's like a thing. Knight's work lives on, right? And you can have disagreements. Even if Alex and I had disagreements, I still want him on the platform. I still want InfoWars on Twitter. And I want Twitter to have an algorithm as such that doesn't curate or monitor content, right? And have fact checks on the side, even though Elon Musk is openly now talking about what? What? A moderation board. Now, look, first of all, you have pornography on your platform. That's number one. There's been a lot of reports that a lot of the CP links there, you know, the abuse links, they have been cleaned up. If that's the case, awesome. I want to see that. I want that all off there. Okay? Now, when we're talking about actual content moderation, I think, one, you always need it for the legal and illegal. Okay? That's it. The legal and illegal. That's if it's illegal, that's it. We were talking about deep fakes the other day, and I think that if there is some kind of CGI, that should get a marker in there, but not something that's, you know, I don't want to see deceptively edited. Deceptively edited. Like they slowed down a clip. You know, you watched it at a quarter speed. I don't want to see any of that. And I think, obviously, that's where we're going. Now, I am happy that Alex Jones finally did respond to this yesterday. He needs to. You know, I think he was still a little soft, but let's not forget that Alex Jones was on all of these platforms way after Sandy Hook, and they didn't go after Alex Jones until Donald Trump successfully, I mean, they were always going after Alex Jones, don't get me wrong, but to the point where they were just going to deplatform him, where that was a thing. That's post-Trump presidency, period. Okay, now, demonetized, things like that, a video taken down here or there. I lived that. Jones lived that. We Are Change lived that. Others lived that long before you saw it on the regular. Okay, you see it? You see how this works? It's incremental. It starts slow and it revs up. Boom, 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 boom. And it's really revving up to a point where people don't understand that the cult that's in control really does want not only a post-truth world, but one where they usher in this new idea, this new Gaia religion, where you bend the knee to Mother Earth, but it's not really Mother Earth. It's the social Darwinists that have found a way to generationally best exploit Mother Earth. The own everythings, the predator class. Okay? You're going to find a way to bow down to them and their eugenics viewpoint, period. It's not even going to be your choice. And I know that sounds wild, but that's what they want, okay? And that's where they're going. And that's the thing with Musk. He's big on this sustainability agenda, okay? And I think it's been this false narrative from the very beginning. Like they were talking about, Twitter's going to collapse. It's going to end. When there was reports, people wouldn't come in. Twitter's not going anywhere. Twitter's not going anywhere. Will Twitter collapse? Unlikely in the short term. They still want to bait you with that in the short term. Now, I will say this. Today on Twitter, died suddenly is trending. Now, I'm not even going to get into died suddenly, other than it is a documentary film. And last night I saw it 37,000. I think it has 85,000. Now, I haven't seen the fact checks, and so far hasn't at least been erased from my feed. But this got 1.6. It's probably closer to 2, maybe more, million views. Okay? Million views in a 24-hour period. That's grassroots on this level. You know what I'm saying? Because Rumble doesn't have something that is, pushing that out to so many people via an algorithm. They don't have those algorithms yet, period. So kudos to them, because this is how we build alternative networks. That's why Red Voice Media, to me, is extremely important, because they're actually financially supporting my work. And that's where I'm going to kind of address the audience a little bit here, and especially the ones over at Rockfin that are paying like $9.99 a month for that. First of all, thank you. Awesome. I want to point out that now, instead of maybe you getting a 15-minute video or a half an hour video, sometimes you get an hour, sometimes plus, you're getting 4 hours a day, no problem, free. And now that we've passed the mark of 2 weeks, every single day that second hour is getting released. You're really getting 8 hours a week, period. That's low end. I don't just take off. Didn't do mixed martial mindset yesterday. We usually do that. Okay, that goes out to everybody. YouTube, still got to cut that off sometimes, Rockfin, and go to you guys, obviously, for the uncensored stuff. The Chappelle video. I do videos on the weekends. We do plenty of videos outside of just the morning show, okay? And the morning show is allowing me to go through more stories, right, and relate them to other events of the past, which we're going to do quite a bit today. We're going to be talking about social credit scores, this new Gaia religion, a gentleman by the name of James Lovelock, this environmentalist and futurist. It's really good stuff. We're going to talk about Artemis. I've got a slew of other stories up there I want to hit, but I just want to say thank you to everybody. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody that supported this broadcast, because I know it's not easy, especially in this economy, to be subscribed to so many things. It's almost like you got Amazon Prime, you got Netflix, now you got the Disney Plus package. Myself, I've got so many subscriptions. I get it. I hate it. I'll tell you what I'm guilty of. Gotta have the ESPN Plus because you can't order UFC pay-per-views without them. That's a given. Still have the UFC Fight Pass. Tough for me to justify, but I am a huge fight fan, and they have a lot outside of just the UFC. And then Amazon, basically, I use it because sometimes I really do need something that I can't get in 2 days or 48 hours anywhere else, and it's the cheapest. So that's the only reason I have that, and I think that's about it. And now I know there's other people that are just like boom, 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 stacking them. Right? They do the whole Disney package. It's Hulu, it's Disney, it's ESPN. I like to say this. Red Voice Media is doing incredible work. Okay, period. Not just me. My girlfriend Alicia Powell, great stuff, great interviews. They just brought Militich and Wilson on board. They're great. I want to encourage media platforms that are going to get behind people and get behind, documentary films. Right? That Died Suddenly is a documentary film that somehow is going against the grain, going against the great narrative, and still getting an amazing amount of views. That alone is an accomplishment. Period. So, but before I get into this new Gaia thing, and I'm going to show you something called the Earth 2100 we're going to watch pieces of, I want to show you how this has really become a religion. And it's more and more outward than ever. Okay? Climate religion. Egypt's Mount Sinai to receive climate justice 10 commandments during UN summit. Interfaith climate repentance ceremonies. There's going to be some repentance out there. Isn't that lovely? We all must repent. And here's the deal with that repentance comes reparations. So I want to say this about all of it. Oh, sorry. No, I don't want to watch Larry Kudlow. I can assure you that. When we're talking about repentance, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I know that you and I are meant to feel like, somehow we're bad. Human beings are bad. We do bad things, and we hurt Mother Earth, so we have to pay for it. Yet the people that have put in the real systems of pollution and degradation of the planet have tested countless amounts and utilized countless amounts of warfare, not just in the sense of bombs and missiles, but biological warfare on this planet. They're not accountable at all. You're accountable. They're totally disregarded. It's a pretty bizarre system. And at the same time, and this is an issue I don't really talk about too much because it was never my hill to die on. All right. And I still think that obviously everybody should get a say on this and at least be allowed to have commentary on it. Now, because I'm going to hear, Jason, you're not a woman. It's not your body, not your choice. Look, when it comes to abortion, okay, I've never been a huge fan, right? I've never been out there advocating for it, obviously. It's been a bit of a soft spot for me because I was born to a teenage mother and could have easily been on the end of a decision where, didn't have to happen for me. And I'm watching this clip of Bill Maher, who I don't necessarily agree with, basically saying the same thing, only on the other end of the spectrum, that his mother in the previous pregnancy was told that she probably shouldn't have any more kids and there would be complications if she did. And then all of a sudden, Maher's mother gets pregnant and he talks about how he was on the chopping block. Is that weird to think? No, it's not. It's not. It's not weird to think to yourself as a human being, a being of consciousness and actual spirituality, right? That what if a different decision was made, a decision that's been awfully normalized? Now, when I say that, I've tried to stay out of it, in large part, it's because, look, if we're going to have these regulations and we're going to agree upon something like 3 months, I may not like it, I may not want it, just not me getting into that political arena, okay? It's funny, I was watching Tim Dillon talk to Ari Shaffir, for instance, and believe me, this isn't an issue that, like, I think should be taken lightly or anything like that. But Ari Shaffir was asked about the Israeli-Palestinian situation. And basically, Ari said, yeah, no, we totally screwed the Palestinians. And then, he started talking about the conditions there. But then he said, I don't think about it. And I would say that to me, like, I try not to think about it either. Because I want to believe in the best in people, and that even if people make dark decisions and mistakes, that they can still have redemption. Certainly not something I would like to see made into a habit or glorified or taken to the extension where, you can have that debate. I'm not here to tell you when life begins. I know there are some people that believe it begins right at conception. Not here to debate that one way or another. But I can tell you it's damn evil. Okay, damn evil to start acting like infanticide, like after the full birth of a child, that you can euthanize it and call that an abortion. Yuck. It just shows you that we don't value life in the way that we should in many cases. And the people at the top especially don't value our lives, and in fact are engrossed with controlling them and enslaving them. So this is a clip of Bill Maher, and I just think that Maher kind of nails it here, where he's like, and then he's made fun of. It's like, no, you should. Now the world has to deal with Bill Maher. Imagine a world without Bill Maher. Wouldn't that be a better world? I know there's some people in my audience that would argue it would be. Well, I would argue against that.
I mean, look, I am pro-choice, but I'm a little squishy and always have been, because they told my mother after my sister, very difficult birth, she shouldn't have another one. So knowing that I could have been on the cutting room floor, I'm...
And look, he's a comedian, but that's a legit thing. Think about that. Knowing you could be on the cutting room floor, doesn't it make you think, what if? I think it should make you take pause. It's made me take pause over the years. And again, for those that are going to agree with this woman who says, hey, it would be a better world, ha ha ha, without Bill Maher. I liked Bill Maher's movie, Religulous. Didn't love all of it, but I thought, okay, this is a fun movie. I also, here's another character out there. Ben Stein did a great movie that was called No Intelligence Allowed. Right? And it took on kind of this eugenicist viewpoint of taking God out of everything. Yeah, and whether Maher understands it or not, I think the two are very, very related, because they're trying to sell us on this new religion where we must repent and pay a repentance tax, a reparations to Mother Earth for the sins of whom? Well, obviously, mankind.
What? Why is that so terrible? But I get it. As long as it's still in you.
Your mom made her choice.
Yes.
And we're all here
with
the consequences of that choice.
Oh, it's hilarious.
I just want to say, Mrs.
First of all, fuck you. You can go watch another show. We got a lot on the lot here. If I'm not doing it for you.
I just want to say,
I'm asking the hard questions.
God bless Miss Maher. God bless her for having you.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't easy.
Like, and when I saw somebody post this, but they were kind of posting it in the context of that woman. She really showed Bill Maher. Did she? It's his show. You know, and whether you love him or hate him, people are watching it. And that's what they don't like about Mar. Mar's not so over the top, right? He feeds into a lot of the talking points, feeds into a lot of the climate stuff. All right. In fact, you know, you look at him, and one of the things Mar has done that's kind of repulsive, but he doesn't realize it, is he's attacked Musk for one of the good things that he said. And Musk has said we have to watch out for what? Population collapse. Population collapse. Now, overpopulation is essentially a myth. But Bill Maher, for some reason, you know, has this weird, I would say, man, subconscious hatred for humanity, because he's been in an environment where he's been around a lot of people a lot of the time. Like, you got to understand, let's start with the beginning of his career. When you're a road comic, you travel to city areas in most cases. You see the densest. He's been out in California and New York. And when you're around these places, you start getting this distorted sense that there are too many people because you're around so many people. That's not the case. Period. It's not. All right? Now, when we talk about this religion, okay, I want to talk about this guy named James Lovelock. No longer with us. Actually just died this summer. And you can look him up. He's highly regarded. When you see this interview, okay, he basically says, hey, like, almost everybody's just going to have to die. Mother Earth's going to take us out. And that's also the running narrative, is if there is kind of like this mass culling event, it's also our fault, and it's obviously going to be natural. That's the new narrative. So I want to play this interview from the BBC with James Lovelock on world population.
In other words, you're putting back in the earth what belongs there.
Even if the energy mix that you recommend can be pursued and can be developed, you say there's still a profound problem. And the profound problem is that there are too many people living on planet Earth.
So I just want to say this. They always start with that premise that there's too many of us. There's just too many damn people on Earth. Oh.
Would you say that you actually welcome the idea that over the next 100 years, the world's population, by one means or another, will be cut dramatically?
I'm afraid so. I think the word likely I would use is...
But my question was, would you welcome it?
Oh, no, of course I don't welcome it.
Because we currently have a population, of about 6.5, getting on for 6.5 billion people on the planet.
More than that already.
We just hit the 8 billion mark, if you believe the official stats, by the way. This is obviously an older interview.
I think it's about 6.8.
Is it? Well, and I know the projections are that it's going to go up to 9 billion by the sort of halfway point in the 21st century. So what do you think is a viable figure that Gaia, that the planet can sustain?
I would guess, living the way we do, not more than 1 billion, probably less. It's largely a matter of
You
how
say that
you
with
live.
equanimity, but that's postulating the most dramatic and terrible and unimaginable sort of cull of the human species.
It's exactly what it is. And yeah, you know what? Props to this guy for at least asking the tough questions that no one seems to ask these people. They start with a premise that the planet can't sustain the way we live, with more than 1 billion people. Total and complete, utter bullshit. That's what that is. Period. Okay, probably less.
Well, I'm stick by it. I think it will happen. I think it's very probable.
What time frame?
It'll take almost a miracle to stop it happening. This century.
This century, so he's talking about in the 2000s, because it's not that old, okay? There's going to be a culling of the planet to the tune of 5 to 7 billion people. Easy.
This century. I'm trying to get my head around that possibility. It seems to me if that's to be the case, such is going to be the level of misery and panic across the world that there are bound to be the most cataclysmic conflicts, wars, struggles, simply for survival.
Well, again, whenever events like that come along, when there's huge floods, famines, there's a certain amount of struggling, but there's also an awful lot of good comes from it. When confronted like that, ordinary people show extraordinary heroism and helpfulness towards others, as well as being looters and vandals and so on.
So, I mean, let's get it straight from Lovelock. And by the way, not even 100 thumbs up over on YouTube. Can we get them up? So, you know, it's not that bad if there's cataclysmic events and wars everywhere, because yeah, do we see the worst of people? Sure. But we also see the best of people. And boy, those are the stories that get told in movies and TV series and now video games, right? I mean, this is insanity. Insanity.
It's just a thoroughly disturbing thing, and it will happen.
I just wonder, you know, because you have a very, very high reputation for creative thinking. And here you sit saying, we are facing doom. We are facing the possibility of 5/6 of our human population being wiped out within a century. Do you bring any ideas to the table as to what we should be doing now to prevent that? Because you say you don't welcome it.
We can't prevent it, but we can try to adapt to it.
So, now think about that. He asked him straight up, how could we prevent? Do you have any ideas how to prevent this? Yet this guy has no desire to prevent it. That's not the point. You know, you got to understand, automation is coming. AI is coming. The virtual age they want to bring you into is coming. This is the resistance is futile guy in a sweater and an old man, and he's a good person, and he's telling you this calmly, and there's nothing you can do. So just lie down and take it.
And prepare ourselves to live in a much diminished world. And that is where all of our energies should now be going. And the more time we waste on things like wasteful, silly ideas like renewable energy, the worse things will be in the end.
So what do you mean by learning to live in a diminished world? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, obviously for Britain, already immigrants are coming in from the hotter parts of the world. We've got to prepare a proper place for them to come to. We can't just let them go into ghastly camps, bidonvilles, or into the ghettos in cities. We've got to handle this as a political problem properly and prepare for it.
You see, isn't there a contradiction here? Because you're very concerned about overpopulation, and you believe demographics are a huge problem, and yet you're saying that a country like Britain should be preparing to take a whole lot more people, new immigrants. Surely, in essence, if you're respecting Gaia and you're respecting the notion of sustainability, you have to say, I'm sorry, but this particular patch of our planet can't take more people.
You're absolutely right, Stephen, and that's one of the agonizing problems that's going to face us in the not-too-distant future. I see it's a bit like a lifeboat, and there comes a point when the crew of the lifeboat have to say, look, we can't take any more. If we take any more, we'll sink.
So, again, you see how they talk around it, and that's because in order to get people to bend the knee to these systems of where we're going to pay a climate repentance, right? And we can get behind carbon systems of control. You have to destabilize governments. And look, this is another hill I don't die on. All right? It's not what I'm dying on. Mass immigration in all its forms when it is not legal, okay, is there to destabilize economies and societies. Period. It's been done throughout history with all sorts of populations. Because once you have a system where there's a mass influx of people who are not only, in many cases, on the social welfare systems that people are paying into, right? But also willing to work under the table for lesser wages. Those are just two aspects of it. All right? And obviously you're going to change the demographics of the area. And if you mention that, you're a bigot, unless you're Chuck Schumer, who's now openly saying that the traditional populace of the United States, most of us who are citizens, I guess that's what you would say, are not reproducing as much. And that is true. So, this is a way to stop the population collapse within this country, is mass immigration. But in fact, again, they'll sit there and talk out of both ends of their mouth and they'll be like, you're right, it's a lifeboat. No. Even Kurzweil, who, big futurist, these guys are all futurists, the guy behind transhumanism admits that we only use 5% of the inhabitable part of the earth on this planet. There's 95% out there. That's from 2018, he said that. And when we talk about renewables, look, in the sense of, the wind stuff, the wind disaster. I'm not saying that those shouldn't exist. That's not what the grid should rely on. Okay? Solar does seem to have the potential that Kurzweil has talked about, yet it feels like any type of energy system that would be that cheap, they don't want into the hands of the people, because when the people can feed themselves, house themselves, have, a high standard of living at a cheaper price, that gives the government, the authoritatives, less power over them, period. David Icke gets that right all the time. So let's go back to James Lovelock, the man that says there's no way to avoid 5 out of 6, maybe 6 out of 7 people being culled over the next century. Okay? We done the earth wrong.
And quite literally, we will sink in the sense that we won't have enough food to feed the people that come in. And that point I don't think has yet been reached. And I'm talking about now when I say we've got to prepare. And that alone is enough to do.
What you are preparing to do is something even more dramatic. You're preparing to make a mission into space.
Oh, that's sheer pleasure.
Well, let's talk about it. First of all, you forgive me for saying you're 90 years old. Yeah. And you have signed up with Richard Branson to be a passenger on one of his first, if it ever happens, and he says it will, one of his first civilian space flights.
Isn't it odd that these guys are always also into, space? And look, I want to know the secrets of the universe. I have great interest in space and propulsion systems. And we've been talking about Artemis and back to the moon. And I've even got a Buzz Aldrin video queued up, okay? And I've also got a virtual Mars video queued up, because largely what we're seeing when we look at this, the narrative goes something like this. Human beings are bad. We're destroying the earth. We have to find a way off the planet, okay? And in order to do so, we need this interstellar space travel and the colonization of Mars. The colonization of Mars is something that's been imprinted in pop culture and the minds of billions across the world. Not just millions, billions. It's a global thing. Well, I have clips where the chief scientist of NASA admits that they're going to send nanosensors and nanobots, and they're going to excavate the area. They're going to bring back that information, and you'll be able to go to Mars virtually. Human beings as a species, by the time the technology would, at least from what we know, because who knows, there's other propulsion systems out there, Who knows what's gone on behind the scenes that they're not telling you, that they're not talking about. Just saying that. Could be a lot. Could be a little. But they certainly do that. They don't plan on having, in the next 20 to 40 years, really a species of human beings. At least not in the sense of us being us. You know, they want a totally different class of what they will call human. All right? And transhumanism, it could empower us, but they want to enslave the vast majority of us in this religion, right? First of all, they want to convince you suck, and we're terrible, and we need to control the planet, right? And we need to get off this planet. But if you look at the timeline, by the time getting off this planet, we're not even human beings anymore. All right, went off on a little tangent. Let's get back to Lovelock, and he's going to space. They're going to space.
With a gift from Richard. It was an upgrade. I didn't sign up.
One heck of an upgrade. How many miles did you have to have for that?
60 miles.
But let's be serious about it, because I just wonder what's motivating you. You say you want, before you die, to get that view of the whole planet from space.
I'd love to.
Why?
Well, you see, a long time ago, in 1965, I was working at the Jet Propulsion Labs, which was one of NASA's facilities in America, very soon after NASA had started, and on the problem of life on other planets and things. And that set me thinking about this planet and led me to Gaia thinking that it's a remarkable and self-regulating planet.
It is a remarkable and self-regulating planet. But again, isn't it funny how these people that are into propulsion systems and working at NASA, you know, you look at, Jack Parsons, right? And the kind of like occult relationship to different rockets. You look at some of Oppenheimer's quotes. You look at the Bohemian Grove, which the Manhattan Project was really fleshed out of and born. Just odd, right? And he's telling you, well, he was working at NASA. That got me into Gaia thinking. Now, if you've been watching the show, you know, we talked about an actual person who ended up going up there, William Shatner, and came down crying like a baby and said it was the darkest, most horrifying experience he's ever had in his life. Just want to point that out there.
And it was the view from space through instruments that helped me come to that conclusion. And I was also deeply impressed by those iconic images the astronauts sent back of the Earth as seen from space, particularly that one from the moon. And just to have a bit of a chance to see that in my lifetime, it's wonderful. You wouldn't miss a thing like that, would you?
Well, I haven't got enough air miles, but even if I had, I'm seeking, to dig a bit deeper into your motivation. Do you believe that humanity has proven itself unable to live in harmony with planet Earth, and that therefore humanity's future has to lie beyond Earth in colonizing other places in our universe?
Most definitely I don't. I think it's obscene even to think about it.
Really?
We have a beautiful planet which may be unique.
But you say we have despoiled it and damaged it to a point where most of our population is going to die.
No, things that evolve always muck up their place. The first photosynthesizers appeared on Earth long ago, wrecked the place with oxygen, which in their time was a deadly poisonous gas. But everybody's adapted to it, and they now use it to drive their cars.
So once again, and this is my problem with so much of academia and science, you know, this idea that oxygen didn't exist on the planet. They're all so sure of the Big Bang. Really? Are we? Can you prove that? Is there any proof to any of that? Oxygen was a poisonous gas on this planet? I'm just saying that's like an assumption. That's a theory. That's an opinion. Okay, I don't think there's any way to actually prove that. There's somebody in the comments that can tell me how you can prove that. Great. I didn't know time machines existed.
I mean, harm can be turned to benefit. And you see, we are the first really intelligent animal that the planet's ever had. We can think and do things. And there may be one day, far in the future, when we can actually help Gaia. And all newly evolved organisms on this planet usually make mistakes of some kind or another. And the mistakes can be good, or they can be very bad, but rectified, as it was with oxygen. And I hope that the mistakes we've made will be rectified in time, and hopefully by us ourselves.
I think you're the first man I've ever met who could qualify as both a believer in the most terrible scenarios, most of humanity dying off, and still qualify as an optimist. Is there?
Well, I think it looks like this. I don't know that he's an optimist. I just think he knew he was going to die soon. And I mean, he held out quite a bit. It's a guy, I mean, he lived to be over 100, guys. That man, I mean, take a look. Lived to be over 100 years old. One of these futurists. Bushnell, how old is Dennis Bushnell? Because we might play some clips of him next. Dennis Bushnell, again, chief scientist at NASA. What's his age? Do we have that here? There he is over at Wikipedia. We do it live. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Yeah, they don't have. I'm just gonna say, doesn't say when he was born at all. Let's see what we got. All right, so with that stuff being said, we got about 13 minutes before we go over to the premium. I'm going to be playing clips from Earth 2100. I'm going to be talking about China's social credit score. There's a slew of news I may or may not get to. We'll see. But what I want to show you here, first of all, let's play Bushnell. It's an audio clip talking about virtual Mars, because I think that people really have to, with NASA and Lovelock and how all this stuff is about Gaia and climate. And by the way, NASA does all sorts of work on the climate change thing. Everything is premised that we're destroying the ecosystem. And when I say we, human beings are bad. All right. So in this clip, Bushnell's going to reveal what's really happening with, say, Mars.
And you were talking about robot exploration, and I'd mentioned Ray Kurzweil to you, and you'd said that he'd spoken at NASA. And to me, the way that you described robots almost as kind of like the children of mankind really stuck with me, and it put what we're doing on Mars right now in a new perspective for me.
Do you now understand why all these things are related? He starts out in something that's talking about Mars with Ray Kurzweil, okay? And basically, these entities, the age of spiritual machines that are created by mankind to travel the stars, okay? And the virtual age is also going to work into this.
Well, that quote, robots being the children of mankind, is actually from Hans Moravec.
Yes. And Hans Moravec also is quoted in his future strategic defense document, okay, with mind children and taking hold of the directed evolution of our species, genomic design and repair.
From Carnegie Mellon. He has various books on this. Robot is one of them from the early OOs, as I remember. And the idea is that we are currently becoming cyborgs at a very fast rate. The IBM Blue Brain Project, which is nanosectioning the neocortex and replicating it in silicon, has made such good progress that they are claiming in 12 to 15 years they will be able to market a biomimetic human-level machine intelligence. The nano-functionalization of robots is continuing apace very rapidly. So there's no reason why in the 10, 20 year, 15 to 25 year out, that exploration can't be done very well with robots at a cost which has been estimated at about 1/1000th that of sending humans. So one way to do this exploration of Mars and so forth is three ways. Three stages. One is to send the nanorobots and instrument the planet and send back the data. And the Brits demonstrated 5 senses virtual reality: haptic, taste, touch, smell, sight, and sound.
Notice he says haptic, taste, touch, sight, sense, and sound. These are the holodeck VR type experiences. And it's not just a haptic suit, okay? It's magnetic resonance waves in a room that produces them. And this is technology that's already in play, all right? I'm not sure how they do the taste, guys.
Recently. So everyone could explore Mars anytime they wanted to at 1/1000th the cost of sending people.
So we're not going to...
I'm going to save this Kurzweil clip. We'll get into it, but these are the type of entities, the mind clone files, okay, that are eventually uploaded into entities. Now, you know what? Maybe we'll play this before we play this fun clip. Let's play this. Here's Kurzweil basically talking about the type of entities that we actually would send to Mars. And then again, we're not going. We'll just get sucked into the virtual world of it. We'll see it in VR.
Throw our mind file away just because the hardware crashes, or as we go to the next very personal computer to embody our bodies and our brains, we'll copy them and we'll retain that information. There's a little fly in the ointment from my perspective, which is just because there's this entity that thinks it's Ray Kurzweil because he has that memory, that snapshot of all the memories and knowledge that I've accumulated over the last several decades that have been on this planet. I'm still, the old Ray Kurzweil, which is me, is still here in my carbon cell-based brain, and so my consciousness hasn't really been transferred over to this new entity.
Which is not carbon-based, by the way. All right? So what's interesting about this clip is Kurzweil's admitting that this thing isn't really consciousness, and your consciousness hasn't really been transferred over to it, but you're going to be able to put it in anything. And think about it. We're bad, so the non-carbon-based life forms are better. All right. We got a little less than 10 minutes before we go over exclusively at Red Voice Media. Again, you can try it out for $1 for the first week, redvoicemedia.com/Jason. I do want to say thank you to everybody that's supporting me across everything. You want to keep listening live, Podbean, theinfowarrior.podbean.com. Those are all available. Also, when you go over to my section over at Red Voice Media, once again, you'll get another new second hour, if you're not premium, released today. Every 2 weeks they are released. Yesterday, the second half of my interview with Todd McGreevy, the head of the RC Reader out here in the Quad Cities, is now available. Great conversation. I'll probably cut a small portion of either that conversation or the subsequent video out and put it on social media to bring more people over, because we need to bring more people over. So let's have a little fun. This is Buzz Aldrin. Take it for what you will. Seems pretty hammered. I once did meet Buzz. Didn't recognize him at first. I want to say I was in LAX. But I was on the West Coast. I was in a airport, obviously. And I kept looking at this guy. And I'm like, who is this guy? At first, I'm thinking to myself, he's a news anchor from back in the day. It's got to be like a television guy. And then I start looking, and I see someone come up, shake his hand, get a picture, and then I notice his NASA badge. He got a little pin. I'm like, oh my God, it's Buzz. It's the Buzz Aldrin. So here it is, Buzz Aldrin. What do you guys think? Is this Buzz Aldrin saying that they never went to the moon? I don't know. You tell me.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen, so in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going. Money is a good thing. If you want to buy new things, new rockets, instead of keep doing the same thing over, then it's going to cost more money.
So, again, obviously, looks pretty drunk. Okay. He says, does he say right there they didn't go? He's starting to talk about budgets, talking about new rockets. How about new rocket technology or different propulsion technology? Wouldn't that be more important, Buzz? And right now, Artemis, we showed you the footage. We showed you that footage yesterday of the moon from Artemis. Artemis, Artemis, Artemis. Okay, you tell me. All I know is there's no human beings on that either, whether it's there or not. Just throwing it out there, okay? And I'll remain skeptical. Maybe I'm not allowed to. Maybe I'm a kook for that. But I think anything to do with the space program should constantly be questioned because there are so many things they're involved in outside of space. We're talking about VR. We're talking about biomimetics. We're talking about transhumanism. We're talking about psychological warfare. That's all real. That's all real. And weaponizing space is a big deal. And now they're making Space Force a thing, which is really just the Air Force, right? And what was it? The X-17 came back off of its secret mission after it was gone for like 3 years. Bum, 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 bum. Questions should be able to be asked. Okay. So on the flip of this, maybe I should show you the CERN Shiva ritual before we go to. Because, we talked a lot about Gaia and the religion and transhumanism. We could tie that back to Musk, who's Mr. Sustainability, and electric car, and Optimus robot, and Neuralink, right? And wearing Baphomet on his Devil's Champion outfit. The Devil's Champion. And we were talking about technology. We're talking about Lovelock. We're talking about these weird religions that are involved in it. Well, CERN is one of those things, again, where I think a lot's going on that we don't know about. And I'm probably going to have to lower whatever audio is on this. Maybe, we'll save the CERN ritual for the first thing we show on the other side of this. That's what we'll do. And then we're going to show you the Earth 2100. In fact, we'll show you Earth 2100 now. Talk about a cult. Talk about a religion. They were telling you over a decade ago this truncated story of how everything bad, including pandemics and quarantines in New York City, was going to happen because of climate change, because we're bad as a society and we didn't learn. Kind of in line with Lovelock.
In my life, I've seen New York City under full quarantine, the Midwest overrun, devastated by pests, plague sweep across California, and then what happened next was something none of us saw coming. It became a race against time to save our future, to even have a future. It's the year 2100, and I survived.
I survived. Change the future, bend the knee. Love your social credit score based on your carbon intake. You are bad.
All right, guys. I'm going to shout out to my producers to start making the move over to Premium. I want you to thumbs it up, subscribe, share. We're going to watch more of that on the other side, but we're going to start with this ritual. I didn't want to get some kind of a weird copyright claim or something. I think it has weird audio on it. The CERN ritual when we come back. More Earth 2100. And then we may hit some news stories as well. We're going Premium. We're going RVM. I love it. So let's start saying goodbye one at a time to the other platforms. Rockfin, still couldn't do it without you. Thank you for all my paying subscribers and supporters. You are loved. Let's get out of here from YouTube. We all know how I feel, YouTube. Wish we weren't shadow banned, wish we could get along. But Google, you're a Trojan horse civilian system. working for the media military.